Hey guys, welcome to Walking Boxing. Saturday, December the 14th, 2024, the morning after. A big night of fights on Fox Sports, No Limit on Fox is the name of the event. And let's just say it was a mixed bag. And probably wiping the egg off my face this morning over one of the fights that we'll get to. Still a little bit of shock this morning. But it's interesting, it's always good to jump online after the fights and to see the fans' reactions to everything. And last night, again, I was talking about mixed bags. It was about the quality of the fights, the results of the fights, No Limit in general. It just always gets a good gauge. Yeah, there are some peanuts out there that just say ridiculous things, and I think they just do it to stir people up. But there's some legitimate comments out there, and it's just interesting to see how people take it in and how they interpret things and what their feedback is. So, overall I thought it was a really, really good night of fights. I think we were let down a little bit by the main event, but I myself wasn't, because I expected absolutely nothing less. I think the fight went exactly the way that I thought the fight would go, but we'll get to that as well. So, starting at the start of the card, who was first? Was it Tosi Vosawatu against Kenny Nico? And look, surprisingly, it was a really good fight. I thought that Kenny Nico, I think he was a late replacement. I didn't expect much at all, especially with a 2-3 record. Vosawati, whatever it is. Sorry, I always get that one wrong. A lot of these names I have a lot of problems with, but with a 6-1 record, I thought that he would take care of the job very, very easily. He started pretty well as well. But Nico, he dug in, showed some grit, showed some heart, and gave Tosi all he could handle. And it was just a shame. I thought Tosi, I'm going to call him Tosi, I think he was winning the fight. I haven't seen the scorecards, but I think he was more than winning the fight, no problems. But took his fair share of punishment. Nico had his moments. I thought he looked gassed after one round, really, but to his credit, he really hung in there, landed some good shots, and made it a really good fight. I was really impressed with Nico. And these Pacific Islander guys, they just always show something, don't they? They just always dig deep and let it all hang out and just entertain the crowd. And I was just really, well, it was a shame that he didn't last the bell. He was dropped in the last minute with a really good body shot, left hook to the liver, I think it was, and look, no dramas with what happened. It was a good. I think there's some comments saying it was a bit of a phantom punch. No, it was no phantom punch. It was left hook right in the liver, and that was about it. So yeah, but really impressed with both guys, particularly Nico, who took the fight on short notice and was obviously the B side, but turned up, gave it his all, and I think he can hold his head high. But Tosi, I thought as well, look, he showed a little bit as well. He's going to get some good fights, and I think someone pointed out on the telecast on our watch along that No Limit don't have a lot of heavyweights, so maybe he's one of the guys they can get behind, and maybe the Brendan Garash fight is there to be had, which would be a ripper. So then we got on to the second fight, which was Ahmed Reda and Michael Reynolds. Again, I forgot or didn't realise that Michael Reynolds was the same fighter that fought Billy Polkinghorne a couple of months ago and gave Billy a good fight. And again, I thought it was just one of those, padding the records of the young up-and-comer, but I was really impressed with Michael Reynolds. Look, the decision was very one-sided. I think it was 50-45 and 49-46 times 2. I don't think it was anywhere near that one-sided. I do think Reda won the fight, don't get me wrong, but I just thought Michael Reynolds deserved a little bit better than that, and I really like him. I like him as, I was going to say like him as that B-side type of fighter, but I actually think he's a little bit better than that. I thought he gave Reda a really good fight, and look, I think it was probably 3 rounds to 2 for Reda, but I was impressed with Michael Reynolds, and I think he can, not to say he's going to do massive things, but I think he can cause a lot of problems for a lot of lightweights or super lightweights in the Australian scene or on the Australian scene. So, but it was a really entertaining fight. Both guys gave it their all, went back and forth. I've got to probably give Reda a bit of a clip about that haircut though. Come on, Ahmed, you can do a little bit better than that, mate. You're not going to look back on that in 10 years fondly, I wouldn't have thought. But hey, it's a free country, isn't it? He can do what he wants. But look, all that aside, I think he's an entertaining fighter. I think he can box quite surprisingly when he wants to. But I said during the watch along last night, he reminds me a little bit of Vinny Pazienza, where he just has to entertain and he has to be flary, and he throws these punches and really likes to throw down with his opponent and give the crowd the money's worth, and it's great at this level. As he goes on, I think he probably needs to spend a little bit more time on being a little bit more patient and composed and not getting a bit reckless. But geez, it was an entertaining fight, it really was, and I like him. And I know he's been after the Harry Garside fight for quite some time. They fought in the amateurs and Harry beat him, I think, in the Olympic trials. I think he gives Harry Garside a ripper fight. I think that'd be great. It's just a matter of whether Harry wants the fight, I suppose, and whether he actually is going to come back. But I don't mind Ahmed Reda, and I think No Limit got a good one there. I think he's going to draw the fans through the turnstiles, but he's also going to get people watching online on pay-per-view. So yeah, I like Reda, but Ahmed, come on, do something about that hair, mate, please. For us old-fashioned guys. On to the next fight, the third fight. Now, this was, I think, close to fight of the night. I think it was fight of the night. The girls, Desley Robinson and Kay Scott, over 10 2-minute rounds. And Desley Robinson getting the win and claiming the vacant IBF middleweight world title. I thought it was a fantastic effort from Desley Robinson. I've been vocal on here in the past that I thought she won the first fight, but all that aside, I thought she really put things right in this fight. I thought Kay Scott started really well, and I must admit, I thought that she looked so switched on in the first couple of rounds. I thought, I think she's going to really make amends for the doubts of that first fight. And I thought she looked really good early. The problem was I think she went a little bit too hard in those first 3 rounds, where Desley sort of boxed patiently, got on the jab, on the back foot, just took her time and really looked nice and relaxed. Kay Scott looked a little bit tense, a little bit anxious, and really put a lot into those first 3 rounds. I just thought going into the fourth, she did look a little bit gassed, and that's when Desley Robinson started to pick it up. And again, I mentioned during the watch along that you could see that Kay Scott had gone through that first wind and was awaiting the second wind and maybe even a third wind, and that was a time to strike. And I thought Desley Robinson really boxed well through those middle rounds and got on top, and I thought finished off really well also. So yeah, look, a well-deserved win by Desley Robinson. I'm so happy for her. I mean, she's a single mum, 3 kids. She probably works a job and trains and all that and looks after the family. And no disrespect, of course, to Kay Scott. She put as much effort in as Desley Robinson did. But it's always a good news story. I love seeing stories like that where the B-side, with everything against them, gets the job done. I just thought she fought so well. And on top of that, she had supposedly was the broken ankle or something as well. I mean, this is a tough lady. So I'm just wrapped for Desley Robinson. And Kay Scott will be back. That was only her 5th fight. Time is getting away from her though. I think she's 36 years old. So maybe this was the one that got away. But maybe, who knows, maybe she can go up to light heavyweight and challenge Shay Keneally in another All-Aussie fight. I don't know, but I'm just, above all the result, I think just the fact we have 2 really elite female boxers going to war for a world title, I thought it was just fantastic. I think both girls probably had every right to feel a little bit slighted as far as the place on the card goes. I think buried deep into the bottom end of a card that has Brock Jarvis and Adrian Rodriguez as the main event, and you're buried right down on the undercard of that in a world title fight. I don't think No Limit showed the girls enough respect that way, but it's their show and they can do what they want, I suppose. So look, either way, I just really enjoyed the fight. And Desley Robinson, a very deserving winner, and let's hope she gets some paydays going forward and can set herself up, maybe in the last sort of 2 or 3 years of her career. Then we got on to the other female fight. This is where it was it wasn't. We'll get to that in a minute. The female fight. Callum Peters, he stepped in against Mitch Holden. Now Holden was a very late replacement, I think, in the last 2 days of the lead up. So look, did exactly what he had to do. He got him out of there in 1 round, did Callum P. Looks the goods, but look, we saw absolutely nothing. And I did feel for everyone concerned, for respect to No Limit for actually getting a replacement for Callum Peters. They could have easily just said, sorry mate, you're going to have to get on the next one. But also full respect to Mitch Holden, who probably knew exactly what he was up against. He probably knew he had absolutely no chance whatsoever. Olympian, A-side, you know, the big up-and-coming star, all that sort of stuff. I hope he got paid accordingly, I really do, because he took the fight, and as I said, I think we all knew exactly what was going to happen, and it did. And Callum Peters, to his credit, did exactly what he was supposed to do and got him out of there and around, and got us onto the two main fights on the card. So, and Callum Peters, by the way, he's going to be a fighter. Don't worry about that. He's going to be a very, very good fighter for Australia. And just a really good personality, good, you know, he speaks well, and the guy can fight, obviously. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of Callum Peters over the next few years. But, yeah, then into the female fight, Shannon O'Connell with the 8-round split decision over Jazzy Parr. Now, this is the fight I was sort of having to wipe egg off my face, and I'm probably going to have to face talking to Shannon at some stage. Look, I scored the fight for Jazzy Parr. I'm just being honest. Now, maybe I think this is definitely a fight I'm going to have to watch back, because watching it live, I was just thinking that, look, Shannon, I thought, was doing the right thing. She was on the back foot. She was using the jab. She looked pretty good. She looked nice and relaxed. I just thought that Jazzy Parr coming forward was being nice and tight. She was wearing the occasional right hand, or not the occasional. She was getting hit with the right hand, but I just thought that she was pressing the pace. She had a nice tight defense, and I just thought her punches as Shannon was pulling out was a lot more effective than the right hands that Shannon was landing, if that makes sense. I just thought that Jazzy, as Shannon was pulling out, Jazzy was landing good right hands, good left hooks, and I must admit, after about the 5th round, I really thought that yeah, it was all one-way traffic, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because of course I'm team shotgun, but it's definitely a fight I'm going to have to watch back, because I don't know, maybe I just had this preconceived idea in my head. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, to be honest, but I had it pretty comfortably for Jazzy Parr. So, but having said that, look, I'm just wrapped for Shannon that she's beat another young up-and-comer. Jazzy Parr now adds to the list of Shanika Johnson, Taylor Robinson, Bianca Almir, Kylie Former. She's sort of beaten all the other young girls. The only, well, she hasn't beaten Ebony Bridges, but she fought Ebony Bridges. The only probably one that she hasn't fought is Sky Nicholson, of all the, you know, the same batch of young female fighters coming through. So look, you never know. That is definitely a grudge match, no doubt about that, because there's definitely some bad blood there between the two. But yeah, all things aside, I'm wrapped for Shannon. This is a lady who her career has seemed over numerous times. She had the shoulder reconstruction after the Ebony Bridges fight. She was told to retire, did the rehab, came back. And she had that horrible fight with Motu last time out, where she fought the bigger girl, got that shocking headbutt, and took some real punishment in that fight. And a lot of people say, and probably me included, were saying that maybe that should be it. But I did speak to her on the phone a few weeks back, and she said, look, no, I'm going to give it one more crack, and I think I can do it. And I must admit, I doubted it. And I told her that. But whether you thought she won or lost last night, what an effort that she put in. She sort of turned back the clock a lot, because she was in with an opponent who, it was the right type of opponent for her. And I don't think those big punches are the ones that Shannon should be fighting, those aggressive punches like she's been coming up against in some of her fights. Come on, man, this way. And I think last night she had an opponent who, while she put pressure on, she wasn't really coming at her and throwing bombs and hurting Shannon, and I thought Shannon looked a lot more relaxed. And yeah, I just thought she boxed well. Having said that, I thought Jazzy Parr won the fight, again, if I'm being honest, but just a sensational performance from Shannon either way to get the win over a really young, exciting prospect that No Limit have really got behind, and it was a really strong reality check for Jazzy Parr that it's not all going to be all her way, because she wasn't happy after the fight. I don't look, probably two things. I don't probably like the way she carried on a little bit with all the swearing and carrying on, but I understand too, she lost a fight that she thought she won, and has sort of derailed her just for the time being. So I get it, but I just thought that it maybe be a little bit more humble, I would have thought. So anyway, on to the main event, and Brock Jarvis, Adrian Rodriguez, very, very predictable, I suppose you would say. I'm just looking for cars there. Yeah, look, Brock, I think the thing to come out, I did say before the fight that I didn't expect to get absolutely anything out of this fight, and that was about right, except for the fact that Brock looked good at the weight, but Jizzy looked ring rust, well, a lot of ring rust on Brock. He looked a little bit cumbersome sometimes. He looked slow, but look, I'm just probably comparing that to what he used to look like as a super bantam up to sort of lightweight, sort of super lightweight, and yeah, look, I don't know. I just don't know really what to make of it. As I said, I think we got exactly out of it what we thought we'd get, and we had Brock who just looked short of the gallop, obviously. His timing was off, his range was off, and he had an opponent who didn't really want to engage at all in Adrian Rodriguez. So it was a difficult one, but look, there were some glimpses there of the old Brock, you know, the triple hook, the double hook to the head, hook to the body, or even, I think it's an uppercut hook rip, and he does it so well, and he did get Adrian's attention a few times with that one. That was actually the shot that put him down, but yeah, look, it's just really hard to make anything of it. Now, as far as the stoppage goes, I mean, it's like a beautiful body shot. A lot of people saying it shouldn't have been stopped, and I'm probably one of them, but having said that, I mean, Adrian, he didn't turn up to fight. He wasn't there to fight. He was there to survive, and I understand that, but I just thought that the look in his face too when he went down, you could tell he was hurt. The sound effects that the referee would have heard would have been that, you know, and the look in his face, grimacing, and on top of that, yeah, not really making any effort to win the fight. I've got no dramas with the referee saying, you know what, you've had enough. That'll do, mate. That'll do. But yeah, as far as the performance goes, I think the performance after the fight was probably a little bit better, where he body slammed Jeff Fenech. That was probably the highlight of the night for me. Poor old Jeff. He forgot that Brock isn't a super bantamweight anymore, and went to catch Brock Jarvis and got absolutely flattened in the meantime. He got body slammed, so that was a little bit funny, and Jeff was, he saw the lighter side of it, which was good. But yeah, look, afterwards there was the talk of the Nikita Tszyu fight. Yeah, I think that fight will happen, but I don't think it should happen next. I think Brock needs one more fight. I mean, Nikita's been inactive or will be. There we go, I'll get past this bloody dog. Always bloody barks as we go past. Come on, buddy. Come on, let's go. Bloody dogs. Yeah, look, I think Nikita, by the time he does get back in the ring, would have had a nice layoff, but he's still been training, and I think he still looks did look pretty good, Nikita. I think he won't need a tune-up, but I think Brock definitely needs one. And maybe it's in sort of February, March next year, just to get him back. It's not like he exerted a lot of energy in that fight, so I think get him straight back in there in the first card of the year, and then maybe look at Nikita Tszyu, maybe in April or May. I think that's probably a good time for Nikita to come back, and it's a good fight, but I think if Brock's going to have a chance, he needs to get one more tune-up fight, and if they do, I think it's a fascinating fight. I really do. I think it's going to be an even fight. I think Brock's in with a chance. I still would pick Nikita from what I saw last night, but you know, Brock gives Nikita a good fight. So, but yeah, as far as that performance goes, I can't really make much of it because nothing really happened. You had Brock, who was just really struggling to find his range and timing, and you had Adrian Rodriguez who didn't want to engage, and that was just what we got. So anyway, we'll just put that one to bed. But I thought the whole card itself was a really good night of fights. I really do, and nice way to spend you know, a night of boxing. What is it, 11 days till Christmas now, so I love it. And on to another topic, which was the Tim Tszyu interview. Now, I saw two of the interviews. I watched the one with Jay McAllister and also the George Rose interview on the No Limit podcast, and it's been, again, a mixed reaction from a lot of people. I've had a lot of messages and comments and that about it, about what they perceived of that interview. And I must admit, when I watched it, I thought they were good interviews. I thought he answered the questions really well, but there has been are sort of those in the camp of that he seemed a little bit arrogant, which I just don't really understand. There's others that thought he had lost his spark and his aura because of the loss, which is probably understandable. And there was others that were a little bit concerned about his welfare, about how he spoke and his tone and everything, and maybe he'd suffered some damage. Look, my thoughts on the whole thing was, let's not read too much into it. I thought he spoke actually quite well. I thought we've got a guy who at the moment is a little bit lost and a little bit confused and a little bit heartbroken, if you want to say it. I mean, this is a guy who at the start of this year had the world at his feet. He had a world title. He was about to fight for another world title. He had, there was talks of fighting the Crawfords and maybe not the Charlos anymore, but all these and even Canelos and Spencers and the Fundora rematch, all these fights were there, and all of a sudden his world came crashing down with not just the Fundora one. I think everyone sort of got past that pretty quick and put it down to the circumstances, the cut and everything else like that. But the Murder-Zaliev fight really rocked his world, literally. So I just think we've got a guy who's come back to Australia who's a little sheepish, a little tentative, and not quite sure the way he's being perceived. And what I mean by that is whether he's going to have the same adulation that he's had in the past, the same support that he's had. He did mention that the haters had come out, which welcome to the world of suffering and L there, Tim, because that's the first thing people will do. And he's had all the support and love and everything from Australia. It's amazing when it goes a little bit pear-shaped how quickly people will jump off. And I think that was his first reality check with that, his first experience of that. So, but yeah, you better get used to that, because it's going to happen more often as you go on. But yeah, I just think now that the American thing is off for the time being, he wants to come back to Australia. And yeah, look, my personal sort of thoughts of it all was that, as I said, I just think he's a guy who's not quite sure where he fits at the moment and is not quite sure where it's all gone wrong. But I think I really liked his... Yeah, and look, and first of all, yes, he wasn't the same confident Tim Tszyu we've seen in the past, but would you be confident after you've just pretty much had your ass handed to you in front of not just your countrymen, but the whole world, and lost you an opportunity for a world title and really, suffered a bad loss? So I think your confidence will be shaken as well. But so I just think he's a guy who... I was just going to say, I really like the fact that he, in his interview, that he said that he was looking to get back to his roots, I suppose you want to call it, and what got him to where he is, and that is settling back in Australia, putting the American thing off for the time being, getting back to the old traditional gym, with probably getting rid of all the hangers-on and just getting back to his close-knit team and... not worrying about all the flashiness of Vegas, just enjoying Australian life and putting on shows here in Australia, forgetting about the American thing for a minute as far as fights goes as well, and just getting back to those shows where he's the big star and it's a big event, and just getting back to his Australian fan roots, his Australian support roots. And I like it, I really do. And I think that's the way to go, rather than maybe jump straight into a big fight somewhere else, or go to America and fight on the undercard or whatever it might be. I like that he's... Look, I doubt, or strongly doubt and recommend he doesn't fight anyone of note, especially a puncher in his comeback fight, but maybe just get a well-known journeyman. Maybe it is the Thurman fight that they bring back. Thurman's not really a guy that's going to hurt him. But he is a big name. We could get him sort of back, but I don't care who it is. I just want to see him back, and then look, maybe it is the Zerafa fight after that, if it makes sense to everyone. There was a little bit of debate going on last night about that, with the Zerafa thing. I don't think he owes Zerafa anything, and I think if he decides to fight him, that's great. If the timing's right, if not, it's not. So, but I for one really liked the interview and thought he just looked well balanced and reset, and I think he'll be back, hopefully bigger, better than ever. But anyway, we'll talk more about that next week. So guys, that is it for today. Hope you have a great Saturday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.